Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Salesforce Ben LinkedIn Live with your host, me, Ben McCarthy, live from Salesforce Ben HQ in London today. And today we are joined by one of our partners, Odasiva, to talk about crafting a data recovery plan to safeguard your Salesforce org. Now, I think by now we all know we need backup for our Salesforce orgs, but you might not necessarily know why and the best way to go about it. And I mean, the why is quite obvious. There are 1,000,001 things to go wrong in the Salesforce org: user error, rogue automation, import issues. So there is definitely clear reasons why you need a Salesforce backup solution and also a data recovery plan as well. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm going to bring to the stage Francois. Hey, Francois, how are you?
Hi, Ben. Thank you. My first LinkedIn Live, so I'm a little bit shaking. But should be
Oh,
okay,
wow.
I
I'm
guess.
sure you can do great. I'm here to support you, your biggest
Thank
cheerleader.
you.
So I'll hand over to you, Francois, now. Just to let everyone know, we'll be having a Q&A at the end. So if you have any burning questions, feel free to put them in the chat throughout the webinar, and we can gather them up at the end, and we can quiz Francois on all your comments. So Francois, over to you.
Thank you very much. So just some words about myself. I'm a chief product officer at Odasiva, and for 4 years now. And before that, I had the pleasure to work at Salesforce for 11 years. I had the pleasure actually to work on two cloud at the beginning of their journey. So I started my days at Salesforce in 2008 with the Service Cloud, and then later on I moved to Entity Analytics or CRMA or Wave for those who know the product. And so through my 10 years, obviously it was a lot about data. It was a lot about what you can do with data, and what I was going to do with Odasiva is really moving on the other side of the world, which was really more around how can I protect and secure the data. So that's what I'm super excited at Odasiva. And so today for this webinar, I really would like to explain a little bit more about why you need to be able to prove that your Salesforce organization is secured and your data are protected. The why is really important, but also the framework to do that. So that's really what I'm going to cover over the next about 30 minutes. So as everybody know, Salesforce is a critical asset for your business. It's accelerate your success with sales, service, marketing, and even more things. And so it's a critical system. And because it's a critical system, you need to be able to secure it. And this is going to be the first chapter of this presentation. It is about the importance of securing your data. And as we start to speak about securing the data, I think what is really important is to be able to say, like, what as a user of Salesforce you are responsible for. And there is an obvious, misconception about because it's a SaaS application, Salesforce is responsible for everything, and then I can sit and rest. Unfortunately, it's not true, right? As we know by now, it's what we call the shared responsibility, right? Which means like Salesforce is extremely trusty platform. They put in place amazing number of control, security, redundancy to keep like a product safe and secure. But still, you have some elements that you are still responsible of your data. And I was saying, Ben, before, if we speak about the data, things can go sideways. If an integration goes sideways, if you have a rogue admin, if you have like wrongdoing in your organization, every damage that's going to be caused by that is actually your responsibility. And so because it's your responsibility, you need to put in place some processes. So that's really important to keep this in mind. Now, data security is obviously strategic, again, because Salesforce is a critical system, it's a critical asset for your business. So what are the biggest risks that you can get? So at Odasiva, we are working really on 4 different big risks that we can see. The first one, obviously, is data loss. Data loss, losing records, can be extremely expensive. So if you look at the Ponemon Institute, they estimate that 10 million of record that you may lose is $1.8 billion. So obviously, it's a huge financial impact if you are losing data within your environment. The second one that also we have identified is data leakage, obviously, right? Nobody wants to be on the front page of a newspaper about their data that has been linked, the impact on the brand recognition, can be huge, and the trust of your customers can be huge. And so again, from Infosys, they estimate for a FinServe industry, and obviously every industry have different estimations. We estimate at $2.6 billion. Huge. The third one is outage or performance issue. If you are using like Service Cloud, for example, and if you have like 10,000 call center agents, if your system is down for 1 hour, you are not going to be able to serve your customers. You are not going to be able to answer to any service call, and so this can be extremely expensive. And again, the estimation is 5 million per hour. An outage, when we speak about outage, I think people may think about Salesforce outage, but I think here what we should think about even more is outage caused by your configuration in your Salesforce org. Outage because you have maybe too much data and send the page, the lists are too long, the search are too long, or you even can cross a governor limit that may then stop your system. So outage can come from multiple different areas. And finally, compliance. We know a lot of different compliance regulation that exist, from the original one that everybody is aware of, like GDPR, CCPA, but from the more recent one, like DORA, for example, in Europe, or Canadian one on ARPA from Australia, or the one from India. So a lot of regulation are coming up, and you need to work to make it your data compliant inside Salesforce. And so that can be also extremely costly if you don't follow the regulations. So that's the 4 pillars here. Today, I'm really going to speak about the data loss, and we are going to deep dive into the data loss. What we see also, which is an interesting thing, is if you want to obviously fight against data loss, you need to be able to provide a backup and restore solution. But what we see in the press is actually attackers are increasingly targeting backup solutions. So, for example, I think everybody is well aware of the LastPass event, where an hacker was able to download the backup actually from LastPass, and so that's how they get the breach. You have also the British Library, where attackers actually went into the system of the British Library and use the backup capabilities to be able to extract all these informations. So the backup can really be a driver of attack. We also have like the Google Cloud accident that happened about 3 months ago, where Google Cloud actually shut down a complete account. And this account was actually all the different pension of people in Australia. So it was extremely sensitive data. And I think this really emphasized the fact that it's really important to have a separation between your primary system and your backup system, because you don't want to have cross impact at the both system at the same time. And finally, the last one that also is important to keep in mind is you can have vulnerabilities in backup solutions. So for example, here, it's a Vim example where they had bugs which allow pretty much unauthenticated users to bypass access to the web interface of the backup solution. So extremely important and extremely serious vulnerabilities. So as you can see here, through the different elements, you need to be able to protect your data, but at the same time, it's dangerous because this is used as a vector of attack. So what do you do then? How can you back up your data, prove you can recover your data without introducing an additional risk, right? And this is what I'm going to speak here. And to be able to answer this question, I'm going to use a framework that is called the CIA triad. So obviously nothing related to the CIA or FBI, completely different, but the CIA triad is a foundational model in information security. So it stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And these 3 principles guide policy and strategy to help you to protect your sensitive data and systems. So if you go quickly on the 3 main items, confidentiality is really to ensure that only authorized individual can access the informations. So to ensure confidentiality, you can think about encryption, access control, and stuff like that. Integrity. Integrity is about maintaining the accuracy and the consistency of the data through its life cycle. So for example, this means preventing unauthorized modification, deletion, checksum on your files to be sure that nobody is actually modifying the integrity of your data. And finally, availability. Availability is to make sure that the information and system are accessible and usable when needed. So this imply, for example, redundancy, resilient infrastructures, systems that are up to disaster recovery, and defense against denial of service. So this is really a framework to help you to evaluate your solution and the protection you are putting in place to protect your data. So now, what we are going to do here, we are going to extend this model of CIA triad to your backup and protection solutions. So here, let's start with confidentiality, right? Your data must be protected from unauthorized access, exposure, and tampering, right? To keep information secure. So when you think about that, what we think as an advisor is first, all solutions that you are putting in place need to have the least privileged access notion, which means that when you access the backup solution, you need to have the minimum access that's possible you can have. But even most important, obviously, when you do a backup and restoration, you need to use the service users to connect to Salesforce that is going to extract all the informations. And these users need to have also the least privileged access notion. So it's not about really to give him all the capabilities that you can, all the permission and everything. You need to be really tailored to the minimum that is required. And for example, you can imagine like to give only read access to your Salesforce environment until you need to restore, and then you need to provide back the write access that you can write back to Salesforce. So there is multiple ways to implement the least privileged access notion, but this is really like the first barrier to achieve confidentiality. The second one, which is one of the core one, is to have a provider that offer a new view capabilities. So what mean a new view capabilities? A new view capabilities mean that any employee of the backup vendors will never have access to your data in clear, because this data will be encrypted all the time with your customer key, which means that if I'm a DBA in the backup vendors, and if I do a query on your data sets, I should all the time see encrypted data. I should never have access to the encrypted data. Like this, you remove from the equation to trust your backup vendors, which is really important. Now, obviously, you need to provide control, access control to your system with strong MFA like YubiKey, with also MTLS. So MTLS is really interesting. It's a continuum of HTTPS. So HTTPS is really about the fact that as a client, I can certify that the server is who they said they are. MTLS is the opposite. It's to certify that the client that is pinging the server is saying who they are. So it's really powerful. Like this, you are sure that the connection between the two are mutually authenticated. Then another level of protection on the confidentiality is the fact that how you can be protected against a compromised account, right? So what mean a compromised account? Let's say I'm a backup vendor, and for whatever reason, a rogue admin or somebody, attacker, arrived to access your account. If you don't have a multi-level user secret, he's going to be able to access to everything, right? If you have a multi-level secret, then having access to your account is actually not enough to access the data, your data. So that's also another level of confidentiality that we are proposing. And all these concepts actually is what we regroup together as a zero trust architectures. And this is something that is really raising these days. The zero trust concept is to be sure that at any point of time, you don't necessarily need to trust a person. Like if you are a Novio provider, you don't need to trust the provider because they don't have access to your data actually. If you have a rogue attacker accessing your backup application because they need a multi-level secret, you have like a zero trust concept of architecture. So it's a really important concept that we are developing a lot at Odaceva, and cross industry, you will see more and more this concept raising. So the second point is integrity. So integrity data must be accurate, consistent, and trustworthy. You want to be sure that when you restore the data, it needs to be at the original state. And for that, first, your storage for your backup data need to be extremely durable. So the standard in the industry, the top, is 15.9 with extremely durable. But if you go to lower tiers, actually you may lose after 3 years 1, 2, or 3 records. So that's why the durability of your storage is extremely important. Then also your backup need to be perform at very high speed. Why is that? Because let's say you are taking a pictures. If the subject on the picture is moving, your picture is going to be blurry, and then you will not be able to restore the right state. Now, if your camera is taking the picture at a very fast rate, then even if the subject is moving, your picture will be clear. And this is what you are looking for your backup. A fast backup that your picture is going to be extremely clear. Finally, if you want to confirm integrity, you need to be isolated from your production environment to be sure that one is not going to compromise the other one. Finally, you need to be immutable. Immutability is extremely important, is again another very important term that you will see in the industry, immutability. It means like once your backup is written in your storage, it's impossible to modify it, impossible. So this is really important, like to ensure the integrity. And finally, so to construct the backup also, it's really important to not only use incremental backup or synthetic backup, but to really to have like full copy of your data regularly to eliminate a divergence in your backup data. So this again, all the items that's really important to ensure integrity of your backup. Finally, availability. So how you be sure that the data are available to restore quickly your business and minimize downtime. So the first thing which is really important there is the backup frequency. So you want to be able to quickly restore data. For that, you need to be able to have the data. The data needs to be available. So that's why the backup frequency needs to be extremely high. Are you okay to lose 1 day of data? So I would say in some cases, yes. In some other cases, no. Like for example, if you are running a sales implementation and you have leads in Salesforce, are you okay to lose 1 day of leads? I suppose no. Are you okay to lose 1 day of case interaction with your customers? I suppose no. So that's why the backup frequency need to be between 5 minutes to 4 hours. Also, the data need to be replicated in multiple spaces and copies to be sure that this data will be all the time available. So can be multiple copies, but also offline locations where you're sure that in worst case scenario, you can still go back to your offline locations. The restoration need to be efficient, scalable, and intelligent. There is multiple way why a restoration in Salesforce can go sideways, and there is multiple way to improve that, to make your system restore ready. And this is really important to do. And finally, business users should also be able to restore, to be able to go even faster to restore your downtime. If I'm a business user, I'm creating an opportunity, I make mistakes on this opportunity, I should not have to call somebody else from the IT to be able to restore it. I should be able to do it myself securely within the Salesforce org. So that's all the parameter for availability. So here, I just present you the CIA triad, the confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and how do they apply to your backup strategy. Now, I'm going to address a second topic. The second topic is, it's about also a big misconceptions and what you are looking to achieve. Do you want to be just backup ready or do you want to be recovery ready, right? And I think it's a very important notion here between checking the box. Yes, I have a backup solution. I never use it. I don't really know how it's working, but it's there. Or do you really want to leverage this as a business advantage for your company? And first here, the compliance is actually helping us in this area. Because if you look at GDPR, Article 32, or if you look at DORA, which is a compliance in Europe for financial institutions, if you look at Article 11, Article 12, what are saying these articles? They are saying like they are mandating you to do periodic testing of backup procedure, restorations, and methods and communication. So basically, they tell you like backup being able to back up your system is not enough anymore. What you need to be able to do is to prove your recovery plan. It's an imperative. And here, I'm speaking about GDPR, I'm speaking about DORA, but actually you have plenty of other compliance like HIPAA, FISMA, SOC 2. So a lot of different compliance that really like in going deep on these topics of be able to prove your recovery plan. Now, what does that mean, right? Like when you have a backup solution, is your data actually here? Who is verifying that everything is running correctly, that is configured correctly? Are you sure that you can retrieve the data correctly? Are you sure that is all complete? Are you sure that you are not missing anything? What is your recovery time? What with your business, the contracts that you have passed about how much data you are ready to lose, which is what we call in industry the restore point objective, or in how long can you restore the data, which is the RTO, the restore time objective. And finally, do you have in place like processes and communication to be sure that you can show leadership when you are losing data, that you have communication ready, that all the different stakeholders are aware of what they need to do in this case? So with Odaceva, we are bringing you obviously solutions, but if you have to summarize in 3 main steps how you achieve that, it's very simple. First step is define your recovery objective with your business. What should be your RTO? What should be your RPO? The second thing is audit your protections. Know exactly what is backup, what is not backup. Be sure that your system is backuping correctly, but also be sure that your Salesforce environment is ready for restorations. What does that mean? It means like, for example, do you have like a bypass strategy in place? Are you sure that every triggers is going to be bypassed when you are restoring data? Because if you don't put your system in restore ready mode, every time you are going to restore, your restore time is going to be really large. And we saw some of our customers without doing and prepping their system for being restore ready, restoration was taking hours. When they put in place all the different recommendations that we provide them, then the restore time moved to like minutes. So that's really important to make your Salesforce system restore ready. Finally, you need to prove your recovery plan. You need to do it. You need to test it to be sure that the day when it's arrived, you are ready to be able to do that. So with these 3 main steps, this is how you can secure your data and be sure that you achieve complete recovery. Very simple. Now, if you want to learn more about the topics, we have 3 great white paper on our website. The complete guide to Salesforce on backup and restore that we have co-written with Salesforce, the disaster recovery and business continuity planning for Salesforce, and the need to know guide to restore enterprise Salesforce data. So this guide will provide you a lot of information, a lot of insight about procedure, what you need to test, what are questions that you may have, and also what the pitfall you may end up to find. Now, I show you the importance of being able to secure your data using the CIA framework that you can apply in your company. But what is really interesting about the CIA framework is you can apply it also to any other application or processes you want to put in place. We spoke about how proving your recovery plan is extremely important and even driven by multiple compliance. Now, obviously, if you want to apply that and if you want to put in place a system, it's much easier if you go with a partner hand-to-hand. So that's obviously what we are doing at Odaceva. We have created the company about 12 years ago. And so we have started with backup and restore, but over the time on the same platform, we have created more security products like archiving, like a zero trust that we've just introduced. And you can see like all the different products that we've introduced over the time. We are really proud to say that we are protecting more than 100 million of Salesforce users, and our platform is built on top of like 9 patents. So a lot of engineering has been put in our platform to be sure that it's working in any type of scenario, any type of volume of data, and with the highest security possible. And I can speak a lot about our platform, how great it is, but the best testimony is just coming from our customers. So we are really proud to be working through the journey with amazing customers. And as you can see on this slide, our customer base is cross-region in America, in Europe, in APAC, in India also. It's also cross industries. So we have customers in high-tech industries, we have customers in FinServe, we have customers in the pharmaceutical industry. So all the time, it's usually a very large enterprise where Salesforce is really a critical system. And then for them, they want the most secure players to be able to accompany them through their journey with Salesforce. Now, just to speak a little bit more about Odaseva and what Odaseva is doing. So we have a family of products. So today I mostly speak about data protections with our backup and restore, backup for business and restore readiness. But we have more product to help you on the different bubble I showed you at the beginning, if you remember. The bubble about, what is the cost of a data breach? What is the cost of unavailability of your system? What is the cost of compliance? So for each of these different problems, we have a solution in our portfolio. So for data security, we have just launched a new line of product that extends Shield. So for example, Zero Trust Connect is going to protect the data once they are leaving your Salesforce environment to any third party. With Zero Trust Vault, we are going to allow our customers to bring more sensitive data inside the Salesforce ecosystem. For data archiving, it's really about protecting availability. And here, so obviously we have an archiving product to help you to offload data from Salesforce, but also we have a governor limit product that helping you to see what are possibly the governor limits that you are going to reach and what you can do to avoid any interruption of service. Data availability is a product that we are working on that is going to come soon, which is going to allow you to reach your data once the Salesforce system is not available. For compliance, again, a lot of different products that can help you to be compliant with all the data that you are putting with Salesforce. And all of these different products are built on the Odaseva platform, where we are providing even more capabilities to manipulate your data with complex Salesforce tasks like org split, org sync, like sandbox seeding, like replicating all your Salesforce data for your AI and BI implementations. And a new product that we are working on that we are going to announce at Dreamforce, what we call the multi-org governance. So be able to understand if, for example, you have 10, 20, 30 Salesforce org, what people are doing in each of these org in a very high-level cockpit. So this is all the different products that we are providing on Odaseva. Obviously, today, I was really more focusing on data protections. And so to finish my presentation, like if you follow all my thread about you need to put in place a solution, it needs to be secure, how you start the journey, how you begin this initiative. So the first is you need to build a business impact assessment on how you're using Salesforce. What are the critical parts? Obviously, you can contact us, you can demo your org to us, and we can guide you through this process. Then you need to be able to set up your recovery objective. What is your RPO, your RTO with your business stakeholders? Then you need to be able to work on a recovery plan once you have done these two previous steps. And again, here we can provide workbooks, scenarios, everything that we saw from our other customers that we work over the last 10 years to help you to come up with the best recovery plan possible. That again, you want to be recovery ready, right? And not just providing a backup solutions. And finally, once you have decided all these different steps, you need to be able to define the security requirements about your solutions. What type of encryption you want to have, what type of hosting. And this is where you can really use a CIA framework to be able to guide you through the process and to understand what is important for you and what is not so important for you. So that's really like the 4 steps that you can take today. And obviously, as you can imagine, we can help you through this journey. So before to finish and take questions, I just have to remind you one thing that we think at Odaseva is kind of core, is going back to the notion of no-view providers. You are going to embark the journey with a vendor that is going to grab all your data from your Salesforce org. And you want to be sure that this vendor is going to protect these informations. And so this information usually is stored, encrypted at rest, and then the tables, the value are in clear, as you can see on the schema, which means any DBA doing a query can access informations. And this we don't think is the right pattern, because it's just bringing another person into your environment that you have to trust. So what is the right approach is to use a granular encryption, which is very similar to Shield, which means that before to store the data, you are going to encrypt the data, and then the data is going to be stored in the database of your backup vendors, which means that if any people in the backup vendors is doing any queries, they will see encrypted data, which means that it's going to be useless and they will not be able to do anything with that. So you can remove this from your mind, that this cannot be another vector of attack. So again, a lot of different concepts I spoke about today, the CIA triad, the importance on proving your recovery plan, and obviously how you can start with the different steps to implement such a solution. So now, I don't know if we have some questions, Ben.
Hey, Francois, thank you so much. That was an excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Really insightful. And I've put in the comments the link to your white papers as well, because they looked really great. So feel free to check those out for all those joining us. So questions. We still have about 10-15 minutes or so. So if anyone's got any other questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and we can get around to as many as we can. But the first one is on something that's quite topical at the moment. How will AI affect a company's data recovery strategy?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as you say, like AI is everywhere. I think that the first thing is AI is working on top of data, obviously, which means that it's just another vectors for increasing the value of your data. Because since you need this data to be able to power your AI engine and everything in Salesforce, it became even more and more important to be able to be sure that your data are protected, because it's a bare bone of your AI strategy. So obviously you need to have your base covered, have a good protection in place, then you can be sure that your AI model will work and run at any point of time.
Yeah, very good point. I mean, data has obviously always been valuable, but in the age of AI, it's becoming increasingly more valuable because this is kind of the unique data that is powering these LLMs. So
yes,
yeah, makes a lot of sense. And then another question we've got here: after a data recovery strategy is in place, what should we focus on next?
Yeah, I think that it's back to my first slide with all the risks that you want to be covered about. So the first one was data loss, and when you're covering data loss, then you can start to tackle the other one. And I think that be sure that your system is going to be performant, available all the time, that you have an archiving strategy possibly in place to be sure that if some object go over the limit and your system really start to slow down, you can offload it somewhere else, that your system can stay up and running and fast. Be able to be sure that you can be protecting against data breach. And I think that this is also really important, because obviously inside Salesforce you have Shield, it's amazing. But what about the 10,000? I would say 10,000 maybe too much, but let's say the 20 integration points that you may have with your Salesforce, right? When the data go out of Salesforce, they are not protected anymore. So how you think about that, how you can extend the Salesforce protection when your data is going away of it, I think is really important. And finally, the compliance. Everybody, is aware of compliance they need to follow, and this is really important to be sure that you are good on this space, because the price can be pretty high.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about. It would be very nice if data was nice and simple and you could just leave it alone and it would sort itself out, but that's not the case. So that's why we rely on companies like yourself. There is a question from Sanjeev here. I don't know if you can see it, Francois. I'm not too sure if you know anything about that.
Can AI query be slow when retrieving data based on encryption key coming out of KMS hosting in AWS? That's a very precise question. So first, I will say that your AI model obviously is running from Salesforce, right? It's not going to run from your backup directly engine. So first, like AI should first and foremost run from Salesforce, like Data Cloud. Now that this Data Cloud is a super store of data for everything that you want. Now that you have virtual table where you can bring data from Snowflake to increase your AI, I don't see this as a problem because, again, your main system where your AI model is going to run is going to be your Salesforce environment. You are not going to run AI model based on your backup. Now, what we see from our customers is sometimes, and we are actually advocating for that, they usually want to feed their data lake, which is not in Salesforce, to be able to run AI model, right? So in this case, what we propose to them is to replicate the data that we are extracting using the backup, to push it back to your data lake directly where they can run their AI model. And because it's inside the data lake, obviously it's inside their trust zone, which means that it's not necessarily like triple time encrypted in this case. And the big value of doing that is, instead of extracting twice the data from Salesforce, you're only extracting one. So you use less API queries. You don't have to maintain ETL tools or maintain two different type of extraction. You only have one, which is your backup, which is really a best practice.
Great. Thanks a lot, Francois. Hopefully that helps Sanjeev. I'll just pause for a minute, just in case if there's any other questions coming up. Oda Siva going to be at any events soon? Any that you're going to, Francois?
Obviously there is a big one coming up, which is called Dreamforce, that I'm sure you will attend to.
Yeah.
But I think some of our team saw you in London. We were in Melbourne for the World Tour. We also were in New York. I had the pleasure to be there, which was an amazing event. So obviously, the Salesforce ecosystem is thriving with events. We also were in Berlin for the architect event. So a lot of great way to meet with people and to understand more their pain points and how can we help them and provide them advice. So we love all the time to go to all these different events.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, Dreamforce is the big one for us. It's definitely event season at the moment. It's nonstop. Cool. So I think those are all the questions we've had come in today. So thank you so much for joining the webinar today. Oh, we've got one. Yes, the white paper is in the LinkedIn comments, but yeah, I'll put it in the YouTube one as well. Thanks for that. But it is odaceva.com/white-papers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, thank you for everyone for attending today. Francois, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing so much great insights about data recovery and data recovery plans. Any final words before we sign off?
No, if you have any question, you can contact me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to answer anything that you may think about or some ideas that you have. We are going to announce a lot of new product and Reforce. We are super excited about that. So all inside is great all the time.
Cool. Fantastic. Thanks so much, Francois. See you all later.
Thank you. Bye.